So you may have a fence that has some rotted posts in it, and you want to keep the fence going for a while longer because you don't want to replace it yet. So there are several different methods to support the fence and to keep it standing. One of them is to actually dig out the old posts and replace the posts and then connect those back to the old panels. That method I don't really recommend because one of the hardest parts of replacing a fence is replacing the posts. And if your posts are bad, most likely the rest of your fence is starting to go bad. So if you're going to replace the posts, you might as well do the whole fence, right? But let's say you don't want to quite replace the fence yet and you just want to keep it supported and keep it going a few years longer. There are other methods, and one of them is to take some pieces of steel. They actually sell these at some stores that go around the old post, and you drive them down in between the fence post and the footing, the concrete footing, and they go and they get supported by the footing, and then they support the fence posts and kind of go in between the rotted area, right? And that's a pretty good method. Another one, which is one that I used, is I took some steel posts. I use T-posts. You could also use the round galvanized posts, and some people even go ahead and instead of using the wood posts when they build a fence, they'll use galvanized posts and then connect the fence to those. But those can act as a scab, and what I did is I drove those into the ground on either side of the fence panels and then connected the fence panels to those steel posts. And then basically I bypassed the wood post, right? And that method actually worked pretty good. On my parents' fence, I did that roughly around 10 years ago. Their fence should have actually been replaced about 10 years ago. But those steel posts supported the fence and kept it up for another 10 years until I recently replaced it. And I'll show you a clip here on just how good that system worked. When I released this last bracket here, I just let go of that fence and it just falls completely over. And the reason that is that fence post was rotted all the way through. As you can see here, there wasn't anything left holding that fence post up. So the only thing holding it up was the fact that it had the metal posts in the ground holding the panels, and those panels were connected to the post, and the panels were actually holding up the fence post. So that just shows you how good that this scab can work. Now, you need to drive those into the ground deep enough to, for them to support themselves and support the fence. And typically you want, 2+ feet into the ground. Now, what I was doing is I drove this into the ground, and the ground was clay and rock, right? There's different ways you can drive these into the ground. They sell those sliders, fence post drivers, and those can work pretty good if you have softer soil. But if you have soil that has rock in it, you hit that rock, and those manual fence drivers aren't gonna drive through that rock. So they do sell, and you might be able to rent some powered fence drivers. But what I did was I had a impact hammer, and I made a tool that connected to the impact hammer and went around the T-post. And then I used that because I had a air supply, and I drove that T-post into the ground, and the impact hammer just busted through the rock and got it deep enough to support the fence. So that's something that you might look into, and I hope this video is helpful, and have a good one.